Hey, what's up guys? This is Theo here, and in this video we're going to be using Create React App to build a very simple GitHub application where we're going to interact with the GitHub API and basically allow our end users to enter in a username, and then we're going to display a details view. So very simple, but just sort of understanding the basic concepts behind React. So I'm going to use Create React App and give it the name of GitHub. This is going to go and use Yarn to download the packages. And basically what Create React App does, if you haven't used it, is it spins up a Webpack dev server for you. And with the hot reload, hot module replacement, and you can sort of see the packages that it downloads. It's really just a node module that is running all of these in its script. So it should take maybe a minute or two at max. Depends really how fast your computer is. But anyways, you can look at the commands it gives you. You can start a development server. You can start the test. You can eject it to actually just get out of the script and create your own build system. And so I'm going to change directory into here like it says, and then I'm going to run yarn package start, and this is going to start a development server for me. And it's going to open it, should open it for me. And here it is, it's starting it. And this will give you the very basic boilerplate code. Here it is to get started, edit, source, app.js, and save to reload. Cool. So with that, I'm going to go in here and cd GitHub, and I'm going to open this with Sublime Text, and we are going to build out our UI and build out some code. Okay, so basically, we will make this a little bit smaller. Okay, cool. So what I want to do is go into source here, and this is just this main component right here. So you can sort of see if I get rid of this, right here, and we save this. This will refresh, and we have nothing now. Cool. So I want to change. I'm going to leave it as the name of app, but what I want to do is in here I want to basically just give a property called state, which is the same as this dot state, and I'm going to give this a property, and it's going to be user, and user is just going to be an empty object for now, and that shouldn't complain. And what I want to do now is access this here, so I'll say const user equals this dot state, and this will destructure user from that. Cool. And shouldn't be getting anything, maybe unused variables, but that's okay. And we get rid of the logo. I don't care about that. Okay, so what I want to do now is create a very basic UI, and this is just going to have an input type of text, and it's going to have a placeholder of enter a username. It's going to have a ref, which is just basically a reference to this value of just name. Cool. And with that, let's look at our very simple UI at this point. Cool. And then we will give it some. We will give it basically some padding. So just say input. We'll actually do margin top 20. And we'll save that. Cool. Moved it down a little bit. And let's go back here. And what I want to do now is register an on-click event. And the event that I'm going to register is going to be this dot get user. Okay. And now it's going to complain and say, oh, you don't have, or actually, is it going to complain? This dot get user? I guess it is not going to complain because we don't. This is not defined. No? Okay. So let's go ahead and define this method. So I'm going to say this dot get user, or sorry, not this, get user. Okay. And what we're going to do here is we're going to grab the user or the name. So I'm going to say const name equals this dot refs dot name dot value, which is this name here. And just to make sure we are getting the name, let me just alert it actually. And it's not going to be on click, sorry. Let me change this to a button. I think that's why we're not getting an error, because you can't actually click an input. So button, on click, enter username, it will say add or get user details. Let's refresh this. Here we go, get user details, and it's not alerting anything, so let me change that. And what is it telling me? Let's say Anderson TR15, which is mine, and it is not giving me anything, and that is because we haven't bound any. Let's see, this dot, I think, let's go in here and look real quick. I should be able to tell you unknown prop on click. Okay, so I spelled it wrong. On click, Anderson TR15, here we go. And what is it telling me now? Cannot read property refs with null. So now we got to bind the correct this context. So there's a few ways we can do this. We can go into our constructor and we can bind it by saying this dot get user is equal to this dot get user dot bind this. And basically what this does is this just reassigns this function to be preloaded with the context of this, which this is the app, right? But if we're on here on click, the on click is actually referring to the button, so that this doesn't have a ref. So that's one way. But there's another way we can do it, is we can actually go ahead and turn this into an ES6 function by changing it equal to empty function with the ES6 arrows. And this will now bind this context correctly. So check this out. Now, if I do Anderson TR15, get user details, there we go, we got it. So with that, we now need to go ahead and fetch. So I'm going to do fetch, which is a browser API, which is just a more friendly way of using the XML HTTP request object. And I want to go ahead and use a template string here. So do the backticks, and I'm going to say http api.github.com/users, and then here we go. We're going to bind here with the name, and then I'm going to call .then, and we're going to get a response here. Okay, so .response, and with this response, what I want to do is call response.json. And then on the response.json, what I want to do then, hold on, let me make sure, clean this up right. Then response.json. And on that, what I can do is do .then data, and let me just alert, or let's just log out the data, make sure that does not error. Let's see. Okay, so Anderson TR15. Here we go. Getting user detail, so that's good. So the reason why you have to call then twice is because fetch actually just returns basically a blob, or basically just the data that hasn't resolved. So instead of just having one promise, it's actually wrapped up in another promise, and you have to call it .then on that to resolve it. So with that, we can log out the data that we're getting, and with this, basically I just want to have, we're just going to have two properties on here. We're going to have followers, and we will grab actually we'll just get location and name. So user, and maybe I want to have location, and I want to have name, right? So that's sort of my model. So with this data, what I want to do is go ahead and open this up, and then I can say this dot set state, and I want to say user, and what I want this to be equal to, I'm going to get rid of that actually, I will just have it as a user object, right? And I will say the user, and what user is going to be equal to is an object with name, which is going to be equal to data.name, and location, which is data.location. Okay, so let's make sure that works. Anderson TR15, And let's make sure we're not getting any errors here. Okay, so user is assigned. Cool, so now we have our user. And to get this user, right, let's go ahead and do this. We can do pre, which will format our text nicely, and wrap it in code, which is another HTML tag. And here I want to do json.stringify. This actually takes 3 arguments, but we're just going to use 1. And I'm going to use user and look at what a user is right now. So user is an empty object at this point, but if we go in here, Anderson TR15, we get our user details. There we go. And maybe we want to look at Kyle Simpson's Github. Go in here. There we go. So we got the name and the location coming in there. Now the next thing that I want to do is I want to build out one more component, which is just going to be a user component. So we're going to say user.js, and I'm going to import, let me change this to JavaScript Babel. Okay, so we're going to import React, and we're going to destructure the component from the React package. And I'm going to say class user extends component. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to, this is a presentational component, which just means it doesn't care about how it's getting its data. All it wants to do is return. So we're just going to give this some very basic JSX, and it's just going to be a div. Inside of here, we're going to have h1, and just to make sure this gets out on the page, user details. Okay, and then let me export this so it can be consumed. Export default user. Go back in here and we'll say import user from user. Okay, and instead of this now, what does it say? Okay, something didn't get saved right. I don't know why it doesn't like that. Okay, let me add it one more time. User.js. Okay. All right, cool. So it's there now. And let me take this out. And what I want to do is pop in this user tag. Here we go. There it is, user details. And maybe we will make this a little bit smaller. Maybe this can be like a H4. Okay, that's good enough, right? And from that, what I actually need to do here is pass these props or the state to the user. So I can say user is equal to user, right? So now we're passing that whole user down. And what I can do in here is go ahead and destructure this. So I can say const user is equal to this dot props, right? Now I'm destructuring it. And I can build out a few more H4s in here. And I can say, I want to do user.name. And I would like to do user.location. Cool. And let's save this, make sure this works for us. There's nothing there right now, but there we go. And we can sort of see it in its own component right here. If we go ahead and open up the React tab and look at this. So sort of see it has props, right? And basically this is a user, the user props, right? It's location and name, and then our app, right? So cool, yeah. And then obviously this will change if we go back to Kyle Simpson, Github, props, user, and you can sort of see them being passed there just as an object. So yeah, guys, that is it for this tutorial. Just wanted to show you a very basic way to build out an app and get your mind around the idea of like a presentational component versus a component that you're handling a little bit more logic with. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a great day. I will see you guys in the next video. And as always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.